Hey guys, Jota here. Now, the new update has came out, and this is really just me looking at what's came out, what the new stuff came out. I'm more or less saying who's basically came out the best, who's came out the worst for all of these factions. Now, as you know, some of these have ended up quite, they've got some pretty cool stuff. Others, not so much. So basically, I'm just gonna say who's been, who's basically been, who's got it best and who's been shafted by this new update. We'll start with who, the worst, who I think it is, and then we'll move on to the best. Anyways, let's move on to who I think has received the worst update. Who's received the worst out of the update. And let's keep going from there. Coming in at dead last is actually the Moscow Axis. Now the problem with Moscow Axis, and the reason they've been shafted, is just because of one thing: the Panzer III JF1, right? And then you might be thinking, "Oh, that's not too bad. It's a Panzer III J. That's not too bad." Well, here's the problem. The Panzer III J, which is already a very late unlock, is unlocked earlier. So you've already got the Panzer III J already unlocked earlier. So it's already, that's bad, but obviously there must be something else. Oh. Nothing else, because the BF-110 was already here. So it must have some ultra or awesome cannon. Oh, it's got a longer cannon. That's not even as good. Oh. Still, it must have some great armor. Oh, it's probably the exact same. Yeah. Really. When I was writing this up, I was expecting Tunisia Axis. I was expecting Stalingrad to be at the bottom. And then I saw this, and I'm like, what the fuck were they thinking? Seriously. The Panzer III J1. Literally, the fucking Panzer III J again. Twice in the same campaign. I got this vehicle already. And I'm not even level 12. Look at this. You unlock it. You unlock the Panzer III 4 times in this campaign. Look at this. Panzer III J, Panzer III B, Panzer III E, and Panzer III J1. I know that, people say that the fucking, joke about there being a shitload of, Panzer III variants in fucking Tunisia's gold orders. But at least with Tunisia, they're fighting against, tanks of equal quality. Here, the Panzer III J is worse than the T-50, and it is much worse than the T-34. So you're basically being yeah, it's not good. It is not good. Which is why it's coming in dead last. Anyways, let's move on to number 9. Coming in at number 9, no question, Axis Tunisia. What were they thinking with this? What were they thinking? First off, it's another Beretta. The Beretta M38 again. Which, the Beretta M38 isn't a bad weapon, but, like the Panzer III J, it's already unlocked earlier in the campaign. And it's not even this is this is slightly cheaper. It's not like a M1A1 Thompson, M1 Thompson thing. It's the exact same weapon. Almost the exact same. I'm pretty sure the only difference is the sight. At least with the M1 Thompson and the M1A1, the M1A1 was at least slightly had a better rate of fire, and the sights were a lot different. You played them both completely differently. This is the exact same, really. And to top it all off, you get another BF-109. Now, ironically, this just having these two keeps it above Moscow, because at least then with the Moscow ones, the Moscow one was already pretty bad, but at least with those ones, you could look at them and go, with these ones, you can look at them and go, yeah, it's something. And at least you get the Assault of Freeze squad, at least. So, yeah, Assault of Freeze is a pretty nice addition. So, yeah, if it wasn't for the Assault of Freeze, it probably still would be number 9. Anyways, let's move on to number 8. Coming in at number 8, it is Stalingrad Soviets. Now, Stalingrad Soviets get a bunch of crap, basically. First off, they get the 80 rifle grenades, which are still universally shit. But here comes the kicker. You have to pay full access for another T-34 that is probably worse than the T-34 unlocked 5 levels earlier. So, you're paying for something that you unlock for a third time. It is literally the fucking Panzer IIIJ all over again. I mean, it could be just as bad as the Panzer IIIJ. But I'd say the only saving grace is that it's a T-34 at the end of the day. That was the only saving grace. I am really being negative today, but this update has been, when it comes to some of the unlocks, has been just bad. And I'm not afraid to call them out on these bad unlocks. Anyways, as well as that 80 rifle grenades, no one gives a fuck about them because they are shit. At least this gives us a third rifle squad, so you can use, if you have the, you know, actually you can't even use the AVT because it's been class locked on this campaign. I was going to say you can use AVT spam, but you can't even do that anymore. Yeah, easy pick for number 8. Let's move on to number 7. The only real way this could have been better is if this was non-full access, but they had to make it full access. Stalingrad is such a shit campaign. Speaking of, it's 2 for 2 as we go on to the other side of Stalingrad for number 7. Yes, Stalingrad just... it's literally... The only thing that saved it was the fact that the Stug 3 is at least unique. It's unique. You don't see this... You haven't seen this in another campaign yet. To my knowledge, you don't see the Stug. I would say, you still get the GDP launcher, which, by the way, was discontinued. Was discontinued at this point in the war. It was so shit. It kind of shows that, like, why would they? Of all of the weapons to port over, they ported over the shittest weapon from Normandy. And they've just given it they've been like, yeah, we're just going to port over this complete pile of dog shit. Unbelievable. Like, I don't know what to say about that. But anyways, I would say this is actually at least decent, because the Stug is actually... I probably think this is the first unlock I can actually say, yeah, it's good. It's just that this pile of shit, combined with the pile of shit of it being in Stalingrad... That has really kind of made me a bit angry about it. Anyways, let's just move on to the next one. Coming in at number 6, and really just coming in as the the most useless, probably, the most really unneeded. It is the 80 Gunner 2s with their Panzerschreck. Now the problem is, the Panzerschreck isn't actually that bad, okay? The Panzerschreck isn't that bad, but the problem is that the Panzerfaust is so good that the Schreck doesn't really need to be needed. Now look, I don't mind the Schreck, okay? I'm gonna use it. I am still probably gonna use it. It looks pretty good, but is it needed as much as, say, as other things? Not really, which is why it's coming in at number 6. It's just, if it was a little bit extra on top of the Schreck, like maybe, say, I don't know, the FG-42-2, maybe I could see it, but nah. Just nah. Anyways, it comes in at number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Flipping over to literally the other side again, we've got Normandy. Now, the problem is that the M9 really is a counter to the M1. The M1 was pretty crap, so having something that's a direct improvement to it with the M9, I mean that's just good. That's good for me, in my opinion. And personally, I'm looking forward to using the M9 a lot more than I'm looking forward to using the Panzerschreck, because I mean, I like the Piat as much as I love the Piat. You know, it can get a little bit dull using it at times, and I would say, you know, this hopefully is an improvement over the M1, which is why it's coming in at number 5. Anyways, let's move on to number 4. Coming in at number 4 is probably the most controversial part of the update. It's Moscow Soviets. Now, the thing with Moscow Soviets is they get the T-34. Now, the T-34 is a great tank, but the problem is that I don't think there's anything in Moscow other than explosive packs that can actually put a dent in it, especially not tanks. The T-34 was such a great tank, and the Germans struggled with them for a good reason. It is probably I would say, one of the best tanks of the war, because it was cheap to produce and it was what the Soviets needed. However, one thing that the Soviets, the Axis don't have really is a good counter to it, which is why it's coming in quite high, even though it's just a T-34. The fact that it is just a T-34 is enough, because the Axis don't really have anything to counter this. Like, maybe the F1 or like the paid tanks can counter this, but in terms of ground forces, they've got nothing that can really counter it. The Bush will do nothing. The grenade launchers will do nothing, and maybe an E-Pack. That'll be about it. It's basically going to be the T-50 all over again, which is why it's coming in at number 4 on its own. If there was a little bit more, I reckon this could have been even higher. Anyways, let's move on to number 3. Coming in at number 3 is the faction that seemingly has it all. It is Berlin Soviets. Now, I know what many people might be thinking. You're putting them at number 3? Really? Well, here's the thing. I'm not going to deny, the AVS, it's fine, okay? The AVS, it's fine. You know, it might be, I mean, it's an AVS at the end of the day, and the AVS is fucking great. But, and the IS-2, I'm not going to deny it. Just looking at this thing, it looks insane, and I cannot wait to use it. But, I cannot put this above the top 2. I cannot put this above the top 2 in good faith. I won't deny that this was that the top 3, immediately I was going to say, that's top 3, that's top 3, that's top 3. You know, but I cannot in good faith put the IS-2 above the number 2 and the number 1. I can't put it any further than number 3. Which is why, because the AVS really, I mean, the Soviets have a lot of good weapons already, and, Berlin doesn't really count much for snipers, and the IS-2 looks great, but if it has the same armor as the IS-1, which I believe it does, it just has a much better gun, it's not going to be a huge game changer. It's going to be a game changer, don't get me wrong, but it won't be the big ultra game changer that something like the Tiger is in Normandy, or something like the T-34 is. That being said, it's still big enough. These are still big enough to get to number 3, respectively. But yeah, just not a huge game changer, which is why it's coming in at number 3. Anyways, let's move on to number 2. When I first saw the dev post, I knew that Tunisia would be a campaign that I would probably have to grind in the near future. And the reason for that is because of some of its unlocks. And first off, let's talk about the first one, the the first one, it's another Spitfire. And I'm just going to have to say it, the Spitfires, you cannot go wrong with a Spitfire, so, yeah. You can't go wrong with a Spitfire, it's great. But the main one, you know it's coming. My favourite SMG in the game has a drum mag. Yeah. I can't... It's a Salter Freeze and a drum mag Thompson. I am so looking forward to using this. I am literally going to be grinding up this campaign just to use this. It looks so good. Oh my god. Oh my god. I literally just want to... I'm literally going to cosplay Al Capone. I am literally just going to be... I just want to grind up Tunisia now just so I can use this and become the second coming of Al Capone. Oh. The problem is I'm going to have to play Tunisia. Anyways, let's move on to number one, which, honestly, I thought, you know, I'm pretty sure we all knew what was going to be number one. Königstiger. Need I say more? Easy number one. Absolute easy number one. And I'm just have to say, it's because of the Königstiger. The Königstiger really brought this to number one. Just... oh. And also, not just because of the hilarious anti-Hitler coalition, but because it's basically taken everything that was bad about the Tiger, the regular Tiger, and it's just making it even better. It's got the same overpowered weapon as the Tiger, but it's got insane frontal armor. It's got the armor of the Panther. And honestly, it's practically indestructible. It's practically invulnerable to return fire. I cannot wait to get... I'm going to grind up... I might grind this up and just... I'm just going to grind this up and use it in customs just to see how some of the hate I'm going to get. Although, the best thing is, if Schmet's using one of these, oh boy, I'm going to ram him from behind. Oh, that was such a funny video. And even then, they get the Sniper STG as well. Like, the STG, I guess, you know, apparently it's not the best. But, I mean, but the thing is, it doesn't have to be the best. Because the Axis, I'm lacking in anything in snipers that aren't bolt action. Like, if you look in the... Like, they got the Sniper Gavir, but the Soviets get the AVS, and I think they get a few other snipers. They get a lot of snipers. Yeah. So, yeah. I reckon this will be very good. And it's really showing why I think that the Axis in Berlin, a faction that I have routinely said is the most top-heavy faction, is remaining the most top-heavy faction in the game. And it's easy to see why with these two offerings here. Anyways, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Leave your thoughts in the comments. What do you guys think? Who do you think which faction do you think has benefited the most? Obviously, I didn't include premium squads. Otherwise, Allies Normandy would definitely be number one with that fucking Calliope. But yeah. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video.